We have read it already. We'll go step by step. Okay.
Yes.
So what he is saying here in the previous para. Sorry. So he's saying what has been described in the previous paragraph is possible only when the cosmic consciousness is perfect and complete, not merely half realized. Much before that, this cosmic consciousness can be experienced partially, not in its full splendor. The perfect cosmic consciousness is not easy for the mentality of man. The nature of mind is to divide, analyze, never to synthesize. It makes a division between spirit and matter. It separates the two poles of existence, God and the physical world, okay? Divine and the physical world undivided. The immutable and the mutable, the formless and the finite forms, timeless, spaceless, and time and space. Timeless place on top, time and space below. The one above and the many below. The permanent above and the transient below. The absolute above and the relative below. Unity above and the jarring multiplicity at the bottom. Also, the pure above and the impure below. Okay, the bliss above and underneath pain and suffering. To those who make this difference, those who make this difference between the one and the many, like the Buddhists and the Mayavadins, the immutable and the dynamism, they can attain the peace and purity of the absolute. They can get that. But and liberation also they can get. The soul comes out of the body mind life, they reject body mind life, and they get peace, sense of infinity, liberation, which is, and the world is interpreted as illusion. Okay? So to such a man, liberation means to be free from all value, a perfectly featureless consciousness. For such individuals, there is liberation, peace, inactivity, silence. But he can never have the power to act in the physical world in a divine manner. He can have calmness, but not the bliss, the joy of divine action. Okay? This is relative because even when you can have the bliss and the joy, but not permanently. Okay, that's the thing. He may even experience the transcendent as well as the immanent, but dynamic divine action in the world eludes him. He cannot remain in the physical world if he has not had the highest level. Okay, cosmic consciousness must be permanent. Okay, in the world, he does not enjoy the divine bliss and power. Okay, such a person's liberty depends upon a complete severance from the physical world. You have a complete cut-off. You don't care for your body, mind, life. It goes on mechanically until there is death of the body. But he is free. He is mere witness, never the master consciousness engaged in divine works. He cannot do that. One who can do that, the cosmic consciousness must be perfect and complete. And that is only possible at the supramental level. Permanence. Okay. You may wonder because for instance, the Sadguru, okay, the Jagat Guru, what they call, okay, Jaggi Vasudevan, he had Ananda, but it was not permanent. He had to come down to the physical world. Only if you get permanent status of the cosmic consciousness, you are constantly there, then you can experience bliss and action in the physical world is possible. Otherwise, partial action may be possible. There is no possession of the spirit. All the workings and the functionings of the body mind life are viewed with a completely detached witness peace for the one who thinks the physical world is unreal. He can never be the master. That's what he's saying. But he can be free. That's what he has said in the previous para. Now we'll start reading the next para. We have already read it, so I just go through each sentence and see whether it is clear. Okay. All this is when the mental being takes its station in its own spiritual planes. Now note the word spiritual plane. That is the second level, not the superficial plane. Spiritual planes, I repeat, okay, higher mind, I'm going upwards. Higher mind, limit mind, intuitive mind, and over mind. These are the spiritual planes. in the mental planes of Satchit and cast down their light and delight upon the lower existence. There's a lot. Seven. It could be Jasmine's. Now she has muted herself. She can hear me, but we cannot hear all that disturbance. Correct. Archana ji has done the needful. All right. So this is what all this. That means what is all this? When you are in the spiritual planes of consciousness, spiritual planes are not at the highest. In the mental planes of Satchidananda, note that mental planes necessarily means either the lower in the normal physical world, that's also a mental plane, and also it's a physical plane. But in the mental planes, spiritual planes, second level, higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, overmind. There, what happened in the mental planes of Satchidananda, and cast down their light and delight upon the lower existence. The lower existence is body, mind, life. Okay. So, Prakriti. But there is possible the attempt at a kind of cosmic consciousness by dwelling on the lower planes themselves after breaking their limitations laterally. So what he's saying is that for the cosmic consciousness, you need not necessarily go only vertically up out of your body, mind, life. You can even go into your intra-conscient. The word laterally means horizontally, and that means the intra-conscient. We have already discussed that many times. If you go above vertically, you are going into the spiritual planes of consciousness. Okay, the second level. If you go even higher, the third level is supramental being. But if you go inwards into yourself, you are entering the laterally sideways. Okay, in other words, horizontally deep into yourself. That is the intra-conscient. We have discussed that many times. First, you are stationed in your body, mind, life. You are aware of your body, your consciousness, your thoughts, your emotions, and your body, and you identify yourself with them. But if you go inwards, you hit first of all the inner mind, the inner vital, and the inner physical. When you are dreaming, you are in your subtle physical body. Okay? Because you experience, you know that you are yourself and you have experiences, but you are not conscious of your body. You are in the, when all dream is in the subtle body. You travel all over, okay, that also with the subtle body. You can go here, you can go there, you can even see things in the physical world, but you are in your subtle body. There was one child who, in the ashram, she told me that one day she came out of her body when she was sleeping, and she could see her body lying on the bed. Okay, so that is you are in the subtle body. The physical body is out there. There is something that links you with the subtle body, and the gross body are linked. Because if there is no link, how will you come back? Okay, there is a connection, and that connection is called the silver cord. Okay, if that silver cord is cut somehow or other, then you can't normally come back to your body. You have to leave the body and go up. Okay. But if the silver cord is not cut, you can always come back into the body. It will pull you back into your body. Okay, that's another subject altogether. We won't discuss that. So Surendra is saying you can have some sort of attempt at a kind of cosmic consciousness by dwelling on the lower planes themselves after breaking their limitations laterally. What are the limitations? Your body, your vital, and your mind. They are the limitations, and you have to cross all these and go into your psychic. But even before the psychic, you enter the higher mind, you enter the true mind, inner mind or true mind, Sriraurendu calls it, because it is much, much larger and you can have a huge amount of information there. And your inner vital also is pure and it is open to the other people's vitals also and your emotions. If you go there, you will be able to see other people's emotions also. And also your physical. The physical body also becomes one with everybody else, as we have said. And then calling down into them the light and largeness of a higher existence. In other words, if you go into your intraconscient, it is much easier to call down the light and largeness of the higher. So it's possible, even when you go into your, before even the psychic, okay, you go into your intraconscient, you can aspire much more easily. And the light can be called down, okay, much more easily. He is not saying that the light does come down. He has not yet said that. He is saying there's an attempt, okay. Not only spirit is one, but mind, life, matter are one, okay. That we have discussed many times. Different forms of the same essential substance, like ice, water, water vapor. We go on repeating these things because then the idea becomes clear. Essentially, everything is only one. And what is that one? Satchit Ananda. It is not even three, it is one. Mind, life, and body. So everywhere it is one. There is one cosmic mind, one cosmic life, one cosmic body. Now, this is interesting. There's a oneness horizontally and there's a oneness vertically also. The vertically means God and matter are the same, essentially. Vertically, if you go, that is the essentially God and matter are same. But if you go horizontally, all matter is essentially one. Even the highest, the widest and the most distant planets are one with your body. Your body also is matter, and the most distant planets or stars, they are all one, all matter. So it is horizontally also it is one. Similarly, life also is one. Mind also is one. These are horizontal planes arranged in their subtlety, which go up and become subtler and subtler. But at each level, it is universal. Okay. Then there is one cosmic mind, one cosmic life, one cosmic body. All the attempt of man to arrive at universal sympathy, universal love, and the understanding and knowledge of the inner soul of other existences is an attempt to beat thin, breach, and eventually break down by the power of the enlarging mind and heart the walls of the ego and arrive nearer to a cosmic oneness. So if you want a cosmic oneness without going up out of your body, mind, life, go inwards. That's what it's saying. And you have to look at the words, beat thin. Okay. You have to lose your identification with body, with your vital and your mind. You're beating them thin. Okay. Like, it's interesting because take gold and silver, na? They go on beating unless it becomes very thin. And sometimes in India, on your palm, okay, there is even a thin layer of gold also is put on it sometimes. Okay, so that is done by beating. So the more you beat, the thinner it becomes. Okay, breach and eventually break. So beating is one, the first operation. Breaching is you are about to break it. Finally, the last is broken. The walls of the ego are broken. So the ego is something interesting. It has got two walls. There's an inner wall and an outer wall. The inner wall does not allow you to see your own being inside. And the outer wall does not allow you to see your unity with everybody else. Okay. So there are two walls. So if you want to have the cosmic consciousness, if you break your walls laterally, horizontally, inward and outward, you can get the cosmic consciousness. And when you are in the cosmic consciousness, that you can call down the light and the power and the ananda much more easily. That's what he's saying. Okay. And if we can, by the mind and heart, get at the touch of the spirit, receive the powerful inrush of the divine into this lower humanity, body, mind, life, and change our nature into a reflection of the divine nature by love, by universal joy, by oneness of mind with all nature and all beings, we can break down the walls. So how do you break down the walls? Get rid of the ego. The ego is the walls and you break down the walls. And how do you do that? Very interesting what he's saying. Receive the powerful inrush of the divine into this lower humanity without rising. Okay? Without rising up. That also is possible. Those who are doing bhakti, they can have this, what Srila is describing here, and change our nature into a reflection of the divine nature. Not necessarily that your nature of body, mind, life becomes perfectly divine. No, it's a reflection. But it's a far, far higher condition, a purer condition than the normal human nature. A reflection of the divine nature by love, by universal joy, by oneness of mind with all nature and all beings. we can break down the walls. So if you go into your psychic, possible to break down the walls and have some sort of horizontal cosmic consciousness. Even our bodies are not really separate entities, and therefore our very physical consciousness is capable of oneness with the physical consciousness of others. That is how Mother and Swami used to act. They used to enter into the physical consciousness of others, see what their problem is, and operate. Now it becomes their problem. So that is how the Guru helps the sadhaka. Okay, so that's what he's saying. Physical consciousness of others and of the cosmos. The yogin is able to feel his body one with all bodies, to be aware of and even to participate in their affections. Okay? You can feel the love of others, you can feel the emotions of others. He can feel constantly the unity of all matter and be aware of his physical being as only a movement in its movement. Your individual movement is one part of the universal movement. There is a footnote there. We read the footnote. Okay. Jagatyam Jagat. Jagatyam, locative case in Sanskrit, locative. In the world, the world. Your own action, your Jagat, you are moving. Jagat, you are moving in the world. So you are conscious not only of yourself, but your entire universe. You are moving in the universe. You are conscious of yourself as well as the universe. That's what he's saying. Okay, so that. Still more is it possible for him to feel constantly and normally the whole sea of the infinite life as his true vital existence and his own life only as a wave of that boundless surge. You realize yourself that you are a small, small part of the universe. Okay. There's a very interesting one of the children. We have so many children who have, at a very young age, okay, they have interesting experiences and they come and tell me. There was one child who told me that she was floating in the sea. Okay, she was floating in the sea, and when she was floating, she felt herself to be so small, because when she is looking up at the sky and the sea, she is feeling the infinity and her own being as a tiny dot in that vastness. That's what Sridhar is saying here. See how interesting. So they have touches of these. There are so many children who have so many experiences. One child told me that when I was very young, I used to see the physical world as absolutely unreal. So it's not at all uncommon to have touches of the spiritual experience if you are in the right atmosphere. It's very interesting. Now, so still more is it possible for him to feel constantly and normally the whole sea of the infinite life as his true vital existence and his own life as only a wave of that boundless surge. You can be conscious of yourself as a very tiny dot in the vastness of physical space, vital space and mental space. And more easily yet is it possible for him to unite himself in mind and heart with all existences. Okay? Be aware of their desires, struggles, joys, sorrows, thoughts, impulses, in a sense as if they were his own, at least as occurring in his larger self, hardly less intimately or quite as intimately as the movements of his own heart and mind. You can feel other people's pain as well as their joys as your own. Okay, this too is a realization of the cosmic consciousness. Although there's a difference between the vertical cosmic consciousness and the intra-conscient cosmic consciousness, but that also is cosmic. Okay, that's what he's saying. But the intra-conscient cosmic consciousness is less than the other one, because as he's saying here itself, you will feel their sorrows also. You will feel their desires, struggles, joys and sorrows, everything you will feel. And you can also be sometimes affected by them. That famous case is there of the yogi who saw an animal being whipped, and because he is in a horizontal cosmic consciousness, the whip marks on the body of the animal came on his back. Okay. Now this is very interesting because there is a phenomena and it's not at all uncommon in Europe. I heard that it is at one particular time when I read about it, they said in Germany there are about 25-30 cases. And what is that case? You identify yourself with Christ, okay, and wherever he was crucified, his hands and his legs, okay, your body, mind, life, because of your identification with him, show signs of blood coming out of that area without a wound. This is what is called the phenomena of stigmata. Okay, it's not uncommon; it can happen. And maybe you, I don't know, but in Philippines, okay, Philippines is mostly a Christian nation, just like Indonesia is mainly a Islamic nation with a core of Hinduism there. But Philippines is all Christian, and there what they do, every there is a festival in which they crucify themselves, not with nails, but maybe they tie themselves on a cross, okay, to identify physically yourself. I don't know if that's the right method. I don't think you should do that. But anyway, they do it. Okay. So this is the cosmic consciousness. So Srinath is making a very clear distinction between the horizontal cosmic consciousness and the vertical cosmic consciousness. The vertical cosmic consciousness, you have the power to be in sympathy with others, but not be affected by their pains and their sorrows. You see them, you identify, but you're not affected. Okay. So there's a slight difference. That's why he's saying this too. He's using the word too. That also is a sort of cosmic consciousness, the horizontal one. Okay. So we can go to the next para. So somebody has to read. It may even seem. Okay. So we have plenty of time. We have about 20 minutes. Who will read? Any one of you decide and read.
Do you want to read?
Okay. You are reading more often than the others. No problem, doesn't matter. Read it. Okay, go ahead. It may even seem.
It may even seem as if it were the greatest oneness, since it accepts all that we can be sensible of it in the mind created world as our own. Sometimes one sees it spoken of as the highest achievement. Certainly, it is a great realization and the path to a greater. And the path to a greater.
Greater
It is
consciousness.
that which the Gita speaks of as the accepting of all existences as if oneself, whether in grief or in joy. It is the way of sympathetic oneness and infinite compassion which helps the Buddhist to arrive at his nirvana. Still, there are gradations and degrees. In the first stage, the soul is still subject to the reactions of the duality, still subject, therefore, to the lower prakriti. It is depressed or hurt by the cosmic suffering, elated by the cosmic joy. We suffer the joys of others, suffer their griefs, and this oneness can be carried even into the body, as in the story of the Indian saint who, seeing a bullock tortured in the field by its cruel owner, cried out with the creature's pain, and the wheel of the lash was found reproduced on his own flesh. But there must be a oneness with Sachidananda in his freedom as well as with the subjection of the lower being to the reactions of Prakriti. This is achieved when the soul is free and superior to the cosmic reactions, which are then felt only in the life, mind, and body. And as an inferior movement, the soul understands, accepts the experience, sympathizes, but is not overpowered or affected. So that at last, even the mind and body learn also to accept without being overpowered or even affected except on their surface. And the consummation of this movement is when the two spheres of existence are no longer divided and the mind, life, and body, obeying utterly the higher law, grow into the spirit's freedom, free from the lower or ignorant response to the cosmic touches. Their struggle and their subjection to the duality ceases. This does not mean insensibility to the subjection and struggles and sufferings of others, but it does mean a spiritual supremacy and freedom which enables one to understand perfectly, put the right value on things, and heal from above instead of struggling from below. It does not inhibit the divine compassion and helpfulness, but it does inhibit the human and animal sorrow and suffering.
Yeah. So very clear what he's saying. So we'll look at what he's saying. So he has made a distinction between the cosmic consciousness laterally in the intra-conscient and the supra-conscient when you go up. So when you go into your intra-conscient, the cosmic consciousness is at the first level. But the second level, third level, you have to go up. Okay. So what is the second level, third level? First level, you are subject to the pain and joys of everybody else. Okay. So that he has given that example of the saint, okay, who had the marks of the whip on his own back. He is suffering. Okay. He feels the suffering of others and he also feels the joys of others. This is number one. Number two, but when you go to the higher cosmic consciousness out of your body, mind, life, it's very clear what he's saying because he's talking of the from the lower, I'll tell you. So he's go to the sentence where he's saying, this is achieved, okay, on page 416. If you have got that page, go to the place where he's saying this is achieved, okay, when the soul is free and superior to the cosmic reactions. So the words free and superior means you are no more subject to your body, mind, life. Okay. If that happens, then you have the sympathy and the joy and pain of others. You examine, but you are not affected by it. That's the second case. You are in full sympathy with others, but you are not affected by it. In the lateral cosmic consciousness, you are affected by it, which is a far superior condition to when you are not, you feel yourself to be separate from everybody else. So sympathy is there, your consciousness is expanded horizontally. Then, but when you rise to the soul is free and superior, not the words. When is the soul free and superior to the cosmic consciousness? When you have come out and go into the spiritual planes of consciousness, which are then felt only in life, mind, and body as an inferior movement. You see the pains and the joys of others, but it seems to be very superficial. Okay, so the soul understands, accepts the experience, sympathizes, but is not overpowered or affected, so that at last even mind and body learn also to accept without being overpowered. So you feel the pain of others, but you are not overpowered, you are not affected, and even affected except on the surface. You feel the on the surface it is there. And the last movement comes when you go to the highest level and you have the power to heal also. Okay, that's what he's saying. And the consummation of this movement is when the two spheres of existence are no longer divided. When can that happen? When the two spheres of existence are no longer divided, when you are in the supramental consciousness, even when you are in the overmind consciousness, there's a division between spirit and matter, between the superconscious and the inconscient. You see a division, you see both. In the overmind consciousness, you see both, but there's a division. So that is the problem. That is, even if you go into the higher mind, in Shankara's philosophy also, he sees both. He sees the physical world as real. He sees the divine also as real. But there is a gap. That gap disappears when you go to the spiritual level, supramental. And there, the third level, the consummation of this movement, consummation, the fulfillment, the final movement of this movement is when the two spheres of existence, which are the two spheres of existence, the higher and the lower. Okay, the highest level, the causal world and the physical world. Okay, the two spheres of are no longer divided, and the mind, life, and body, obeying utterly the higher law, grow into the spirit's freedom. Your body, mind, life is completely subject to God's commands. Okay, that's what he's saying. Free from the lower and ignorant response of the cosmic touches. The cosmic, at our level, every cosmic touch affects us. If someone gives you a slap, it's a physical slap, you feel the pain. If someone insults you, you feel a vital slap. Someone's words will affect your mind. These are the cosmic touches which are coming. But when you are in that higher consciousness, these things are all very, very superficial. Your body, mind, life will feel them, but you are not affected at all. Okay? Free from the lower and ignorant response of the cosmic touches. Their struggle and their subjection to the duality ceases. No more struggle, no more being affected by anything in the physical world. But you are open to it. Now simply explains. This does not mean insensibility to the subjection or struggles and sufferings of others. You are very sensible, you are susceptible, you are in sympathy. You are in a condition where you receive the pain of others and you are in sympathy with them, but you are not affected. Okay. This does not mean insensibility to the subjection and struggles and suffering of others, but it does mean a spiritual supremacy and freedom which enables one to understand perfectly, put the right values on things, and heal from above. Note, in the third level, you have the power to heal the suffering of others also. Heal from above instead of struggling from below. Okay. All philanthropic work is a struggling from below to relieve the suffering of others. Mother Teresa's work, okay, and all the Christian charity works, all is nothing but from the lower end, you are trying to relieve the physical suffering of others. It's not bad, but it's not spiritual. It's a, it's only temporary. You can relieve their pain temporarily, but not permanently. If you are at the higher level, that power to heal permanently is there, provided the person is somewhat open to the power that you are giving to him. I remember in our Sanskrit class, there was this lady, I can mention her now because she is not there anymore, she has gone away. She left the physical world some time back. In the Sanskrit class, she is asking, if the divine has so much power, why can't he remove my suffering? Why can't he make me lose my ignorance? Because it's like the radio station. The radio station is broadcasting. But are you receiving? You have to tune your radio to be able to receive what the broadcast is there. So there are two things. The divine is all powerful, but in the physical world, he himself has made the conditions. You have to be receptive to it. If you are receptive, then you will be able to transform yourself. Okay? So this is what they're saying in the last sentence. It does not inhibit the divine compassion and helpfulness, but it does inhibit the human and animal sorrow and suffering. Okay, so they've got 8 minutes more. So this very clear. What we learn from this paragraph is that there are two types of cosmic consciousnesses. One is slightly inferior and the other is far superior. The inferior one is when you go into yourself and get the horizontal unity with others. Your physical body and your subtle body, you feel the pain of others. In your inner vital, you feel the emotions of others. In the inner mind, you feel the thoughts of others. This is the horizontal. You go inside. And it's a cosmic consciousness. But you are subject to the pains of others and the joys of others also. But if you go vertically up, it's far superior, and you don't need to suffer the pains of others, but you can have access to the pain of others. And even if you go higher up to the supramental world, you have even the power to heal the suffering of others. This is what is saying very clearly in this para. Okay, we can read the next. Yeah, tell me.
When we try to, like Mother Teresa work, as you say, it is they try to share the pain of people by curing them, them. So it is something like that. My karma, according to Indian theory, that my karma which I had to suffer, somebody if share it and somebody give me sympathy or something or cure me, then that karma becomes half. That karma remains no, because I have not fully finished that karma.
Yeah, you're right. That's why. But when they sympathize, so far as the sympathizer is concerned, it is good movement. But it's not necessarily a spiritual movement. That's
Then
why.
what about the person who is receiving this sympathy? Means his karma has not been fulfilled. No, he has not fully suffered. How much he has to suffer?
That's right.
Because some taken his pain and something. So again, this karma has remained. Again, he has to feel this karma. So how?
What you're saying is fine. I agree with that. But I would remove the word suffering and say experience, because it can, yeah, it need not necessarily be only suffering. It can also be, yeah, it is the experience in the physical world that makes him grow. You are right.
Hello?
Yeah.
But hasn't Mother said somewhere that once you start following yoga and you surrender to the divine, your whole karma is wiped off?
No, that is when you're free. When you become free, not when you are doing yoga. When you are doing yoga, you have to become free. In other words, you have to lose your identification with body, mind, life. If you lose your identification with body, mind, life, you are free and your karma is annulled. That is sure. But whose karma? Not the body, mind, life, but the soul. The soul is not now identified with the body, mind, life, and it is free. There is no suffering for the soul, but there is suffering for the body, mind, life. Otherwise, tell me, how can you explain Raman Maharshi's cancer? How can you explain Ramakrishna's cancer? How can you explain? The body, mind, life has to suffer. Because at the physical level, the laws are very, very rigid. Okay. So keep that in mind. Okay. So the suffering of the body, mind, life will be removed only when the spiritual, the supramental consciousness becomes a fact in the physical world. Then there will be no karmic law operating even in the physical world. But as of now, it does operate. But the soul is free. In the normal human being, the soul is suffering. You are identified with your body, mind, life, and the pains and pleasures of the body, mind, life are affecting you. Okay? But in spiritual consciousness, you are not affected, but body, mind, life gets affected. And the third level, which has not yet happened in the physical world, when you have a supramental body, supramental vital, supramental mind, there will be no karmic law operating on you, even in the physical world. There are 3 stages. Okay? So what you are saying is right, but that is not when you start yoga. When you complete the liberation after starting yoga. Otherwise, we are all trying to do yoga. Are we free? We are not free at all. Okay? When the freedom, when the liberation comes, mukti comes, then the karmic law is cancelled for the soul, the true individual. It doesn't cancel for the lower. Okay? All right? So, 32. We have got only 3 minutes left. So, we can stop here today. And we can make a note that where we have to read next time. Page 417. Synthesis PP 416, and we have to read from the link, right? So, if there are any questions, we can take it. But Jasmine, you raised that question. Is it clear what I said?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah. It is true that when you start your yoga, it will end in a liberation. And when you are liberated, you are not identified anymore with your body, mind, life. And the body, mind, life continues. Okay. But the yogin who wants to get away, he doesn't care because he is not going to take birth anymore. So he doesn't care. But if the the liberated man wants to come back into the physical world, he will have to still undergo the karma of the physical world. But after the supramental descent and after when you have a supramental body, okay, the law of karma, even at the physical world, even in the physical, will not be applicable only for you, not for everybody. Each individual soul has to undergo its own karma. But if you are at a supramental level, even your body, mind, life will be free. Your body, mind, life will not be subject to the laws of karma. Because the laws of karma are operating only in the physical level, to a lesser extent in the vital level, to an even lesser extent in the mental level. But above the mental level, there is no karma. There is no karma for the soul.
You know,
Rangana,
we
I
are
have a few
talking.
Yeah, one by one, tell me. Yeah.
Yes, you carry on, Yasmin.
Jasmine,
You
tell me.
know, we are talking of all these hi-fi things like supramental and all, but at the moment, to grapple the two grapple hooks of Sri Aurobindo is also so difficult, to silence the mind and open to the psychic being.
Of course. Of course.
So,
But this is what you are reading is mental information. It does help. It's not that it is useless. It does help. But what you are saying is true. Instead of hi-fi, get down to practical things and do what is necessary first. Purify your body, purify your mind. That's the first work to be done. But this is information, and information in the mind, right ideas do help. Srimba says it does help to have a clear mind. And Srimba is telling something which will be applicable for eternity. Today we are suffering and we are in the body mind life, we are doing yoga. But day after tomorrow or next life, I may be free. Then what Srimba said will apply to me. So Srimba has given knowledge for the future also. And that's what. Nah? So that's what. What you said about the hi-fi is absolutely correct. But that doesn't mean to say that we need not understand all these things. It helps to understand. It's not practically real for us, but the mind benefits from information. Okay. Shilpa, you wanted to say something after Yasmin?
As somewhere I have read this, that mother has told, don't give donations here and there, just give it to divine. Don't build hospitals and everything. So I want to relate this with this, what related to my previous question, that when we are interfering with somebody's karma,
No, I don't think mother has said don't build hospitals, because when you are at a physical level, should you be insensitive to others? You should be sensitive, and at that level, you should try and help others. So I don't think she ever said don't build hospitals, don't give charity. I don't think she said that. But
Yes,
if you are,
uh,
if you are doing yoga, instead of giving to charity, give it to the divine. In any case, you are losing your money. So instead of giving it to a lower level, give it to a higher level. That she has said. Okay. But suppose you are not doing yoga, then is it not good to give your money to charity? That's what all these people in America, these rich people are doing. Warren Buffett, um, the one who did the Microsoft. Okay, so all these people are giving huge charities. Okay,
yes.
even in even the uh, rich people in India also, they have so much money that they can spare, and they do it with a selfish purpose because they get tax free. So
Yes.
they give the money away. It's not real charity because you are only helping yourself by giving charity. It becomes totally 100% tax free. There are
Yes.
slabs. There is 100% tax free,
Yes.
there is 50% tax free. So they are only helping themselves. But those who give really without any motive, that's the highest. That's not very, that's quite rare. You're not thinking of taxes, you're just giving what you have. That brings us to an interesting thing. Suppose somebody, a poor person, gives 1 rupee to the divine. Okay. And a very rich person gives several lakhs, but with a motive. Which is more superior?
1 rupee.
That-
Definitely.
Yeah, that one who is giving 1 rupee because maybe he has got only that 1 rupee and he gives it because he has no motive. He only wants to give it to the divine. So that's far superior. It's not a question of quantity. It's a question of quality. I'll tell you an interesting story about this. Okay. There was a person who offered some good, you know what a good molasses, na? Good, a sweet
Jaggery.
thing yeah, jaggery, exactly. So he gave it to mother, and mother took that and kept it on her table. And every day she used to just take a little bit of that and taste it. Okay. But then one day, Jivan Bhai, who used to prepare her food and bring it to her, and he used to attend also to her, he asked her one day, Mother, this good is lying on your table from 5-6 days. Why are you eating this? It is gone spoiled. Then she said, do you think that I am eating it for that? For the taste of that sugar? I am eating it because I am experiencing the devotion that was there given by which it was given to me. Okay? So look at that value, na?
It's
The
like
thing is,
prasad.
yes. So that is the thing. The one who is giving all that he has, even if it be very small, it is far more valuable than. It's not a question of quantity, it's a question of quality. Okay, we stop. We have got 5 minutes beyond that time. We stop here. Au revoir,
Merci
everybody.
beaucoup.
Au revoir, Tilamor. Thank you, Rangada. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rangada.
Au revoir, everybody.